All right, well, it's day 11, really. Day 1, opening arguments. There were 10 days of Fry hearing and jury selection and stuff. So officially today was day 11, but it's the opening arguments, so it's the start of the actual trial in a lot of ways. I got a comment and a video reply I want to talk about briefly, and then I'll talk about what happened in court and my understanding of it. Okay, now Kuros. The thing is, I don't want you to just be making comments thinking, oh, they're going to call me racist anyway, so I'll make them even nuttier. Okay, that's going to be hard for me to take, because I'm going to be pretty tolerant of it. Welcome back, by the way. Glad to see you up and around. And I'm going to be really tolerant. That's going to be hard on me. Let's not do that. Okay, for example, you might have missed my video in the past. Yes, Trayvon had some trouble going on. All right, he had trouble with his mother and the jewelry. We've seen a list of what the jewelry was that he was found with, and there's diamonds and gold jewelry in there. Problems. All right. But that's not what the case is going to be decided on. I said I would admit that kind of stuff as it came into court. I have. You have to admit George is no choir boy. Now, even if one of these guys was a choir boy, so to speak, and the other one wasn't, that's not enough. The choir boys and goody two-shoes don't get a free pass to go around killing people. So that's not what it's going to come down to. It's going to be much more important things like the body is 40 feet away from where George says he was knocked down. The amount of time things took. The obvious fact that they did. I'll get into this later. Okay. The other one's a video by Sugar Arlen, and it's the same thing. Thank you for that video. It's very calm. I love to consider your opinions. Some of these things I'm familiar with. The main thing I would say is, look, we don't want to try this and say George Zimmerman is guilty because of what the press said or the races, right? But we can't say he's innocent either. You know, it could be true that the press was not fair to him, and that doesn't mean that he's innocent, okay? It's like if you have a crime and there's two people might have committed it and there's a bunch of witnesses, and there's people that didn't witness the crime, and one of the suspects is black and one is white. A bunch of people could go, I know the black guy did it. And a bunch of people could go, I bet it was that white guy. And some of those people will be right. And it doesn't matter. We're talking about reasons that lead to a conclusion. Not just guessing, and you might be right or wrong, but actually how do we get and find out and confirm to see if those guesses were right and wrong. So we have to look at the case. All right, so what it looks like today is the opening arguments. And this, by the way, is mostly for people watching the case. I mean, you don't have to, and I might not be able to see the whole thing myself. But basically, it's at that level of, I'm going to expect you to acknowledge things that were covered in the case, right? If you just want to come here and say, I've known it all along, and I still know it, but I can't be bothered to learn now the evidence that's going to make it pass the tests of admissibility and actually be a part of our justice system, you know, that's not going to impress me. I mean, I'm going to be talking about the actual case and taking into account things that have been admitted into evidence and what the witnesses have said. This trial starts, I don't know, like 3 o'clock in the morning my time. I watched the last couple hours when I got up, and then I watched the rest while I worked, basically. And it seems like the defense is open with an emotional statement. The first thing the defense guy said basically was "fuck 'em punks" and talking about, you know, setting an emotional picture, trying to, of George Zimmerman. The defense, was I don't know. They were a little more confused and stuff, but I'm pretty sure what they were doing is trying to come out. They came out with a lot of diagrams and just mundane stuff like, here's retreat view circle. You'll hear about the T. Here's the T. I think they know that they're at the emotional weak side of things, and so they're trying to set themselves up as, look, we're the ones that are no nonsense. We've got to just look at the facts, you know, because that's the only way they can present their case. They had a few witnesses, the 7-Eleven guy, what's her name? Trayvon's dad's girlfriend, Brandy, her son. The 9/11 call operator, they clarified, no, he did not tell him not to walk, and they specifically don't tell people what to do or not do because then they're liable. And a funny thing is, like, a lot of conservatives at the conservative treehouse are like, see, haha, they didn't tell him not to go. But you guys don't get it. They didn't tell him not to go so that they wouldn't be liable. That just means George is liable for those decisions. And I think it's going to be fairly straightforward to show that he kept following Trayvon. Now look, the flashlight, his pen flashlight with his keys, was found with the light on. If he was staying in the lit area looking for a street sign, why did he have his flashlight on and out? And why did he say that he was knocked down where the flashlight was found, the body was found 40 feet away? Because they struggled, obviously. They struggled. So it didn't get much further than that. Crump, attorney for the Martins, is not going to be able to sit. They're sequestering a sequestration rule. None of the witnesses that are going to testify can be in the courtroom except for the victim's parents, Trayvon's parents. So George's parents had to leave, Crump had to leave, and whomever else might have been watching it. So yeah, not much, but I'm going to be watching this trial. And anybody that wants to take part, I really appreciate it. But please, be open to the information you haven't seen yet. And if you're not trying to do at least a little bit, I mean, I don't expect you to erase everything. I'm not doing that. But you have to do a little bit of, method thinking, where you put yourself, you're supposed to be starting afresh with what makes it into the trial. If you want to have a judgment on what goes into trials, then fine, that's a political opinion about our justice systems. But I'm interested also just in this process of, given that we need a mechanism to find these things out, and some things will go in and some things won't, and there'll be some noise, things that should have gotten in and things that shouldn't have, this is the process we use. And I'm ready to accept any verdict, and I might say, oh, but I don't think justice was served and whatever. There's a separate thing in terms of how the law and what's actually at evidence. So so that's day 1/11, aka day 11.